Government development teams need the ability to collaborate across domains, across enclaves, across classifications. But how do they do that and still keep all of their materials, repositories, artifacts, code still intact? Marc with GitLab is going to talk to us about accelerating speed to mission through low to high cross-domain collaboration. And he'll show us a few stories about how the intelligence community is doing that right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to GitLab Commit 2020. My name is Marc, and I'm with GitLab's National Security Group in the Public Sector Division. And I'm here to chat with you today about accelerating speed to mission through low to high cross-domain collaboration. But what I'm really here to do is to tell a story of a group of summer interns that when they were equipped with GitLab's seamless end-to-end DevSecOps solution, they were able to work seamlessly on the low side and make an immediate mission impact on the high side for this particular agency mission group. Now, the goal of this presentation is pretty simple. Your time is valuable, and I want to thank you for taking this time to spend it with me. So my commitment to you is to deliver a conversation and a story that has real lessons learned, real tips and tricks that you can take away. And remember, this isn't a how-to guide, but it's a story. It's a journey, and it has outcomes that exceeded expectations. So the background. So picture an intelligence community agency's mission team that is working in a secure, isolated network. They had a challenge. They needed to look at how they could validate their current approach to the mission, but they also wanted to look at some new ideas. And they discovered that a way to do this is to do research on the low side. So they created a summer intern program with the goal being to bring a group of summer interns together to do research on the low side that they could then use in their mission on the high side. They had another goal for this program, however, which was the government leadership of the agency wanted a way to make their summer intern programs more effective so they could get this young, talented group of individuals excited about a future career path with the agency. So picture, if you will, 17 summer interns from colleges and universities all over the area. They bring them all together and they explained that, and again, this was pre-COVID. So they had an option. They brought them together and said, you can work over the summer from an unclassified facility with one of our agency partners here, or you can work remotely because that situation of that office didn't geographically serve all of those college interns. Some of them were living at home with their parents over the summer. Some of them were living in dormitories. Some of them were living on campus for the summer. So they had to work from all different places. What was interesting about this group was that they had a diverse background. They were majoring in a lot of different disciplines, everything from political science to sociology to data science. In fact, out of the 17, only one of them had a background in computer science, and none of them had a background in GitLab. Now, what was interesting was the program was only going to run for 90 days over the summer. So it had to start quickly. The agency program had some requirements for their program. One is that they needed it to have a quick start because it was only 90 days in duration. Also, the branch chief from the government program office wanted to have visibility into what his interns were doing, what kind of work they were doing. He wanted to have this daily visibility into their work, their priorities, and most importantly, their results. So imagine a group of interns. They have to work on the low side. They want to be able to collaborate together easily, and they want to be able to change course. If their research was taking a direction that they wanted to iterate on, they needed to have a way to be able to do that quickly. So now the story. So here we are. It's a first day of the summer. The 17 interns are brought together in a big conference room in that unclassified partner facility. And all of them are sitting around this large conference table, none of them with any GitLab experience. So what we had done ahead of time is we had worked with the agency to set up an instance of GitLab on the low side. We gave them all accounts so that on day one, when we brought them all together, we were able to do a 4-hour quick start GitLab training for them, which allowed them to understand very quickly how to use GitLab, what the interface looked like. Now, here's the good news about the GitLab solution. The interface is really easy to pick up. It's easy to learn. And the interns, after 4-hour training, the interns began to create GitLab issues. They began to tag each other and mention each other in those issues. And what was exciting was they also took the topics for their research project that were given to them by the branch chief, and they created an epic in GitLab for each one of those. So they created an epic and organized themselves very, very quickly. So then at the end of the day, picture this, they all leave the conference room and they all go back to their individual workspaces on the low side. Now the work begins. So they began to collaborate. And what they found using GitLab on the low side is that they would start their day with their to-do list in GitLab. So they would bring up their account, they would click on the to-do drop down, and they would look at all of the things that they had been tagged in. So maybe there's issues that they have been assigned. Maybe there's issues within GitLab. You can easily create a task list. So these interns would create these lists of tasks and assign each other to those tasks. And then they began to use the project repository to drop their research artifacts into. So this gave them a way to quickly collaborate. And the other thing that they discovered in this workflow was that even though they were all dispersed geographically and different locations, they actually began to communicate asynchronously together. And that gave them the ability to work at different hours, but yet not lose any of that rapid workflow and iteration and bouncing ideas off each other. Now the impact. So imagine that the branch chief is wanting to see how this work is going, but most importantly, he wants to start applying the results of their research to his current way of doing business. So what they would do is, using the GitLab interface, they would actually use a capability called the GitLab Project Import Export Archive capability. This is our unique differentiator that allows for that seamless low to high collaboration. So what they would do, the interns would click on the GitLab drop down at the project level, and they would archive their project. Now what our technology does is it takes not only the repo and all the files in that repo, but it takes all the artifacts and bundles all those together. So think about this. It gave the branch chief all the context of the work being done on the low side, because he got to see the issues. He got to see the to-do lists. He got to see mentions of people in those issues. He got to see issues assigned to different individuals. He got to see all the research documents and the conversations around those that were part of the project repo. All of that got bundled up, and it got moved up to the high side with the technology that the agency had in place to do this. And then they would import that onto their instance of GitLab on the high side, and the branch chief would open up his issue board and his epic roadmap, and he would get to see exactly what his interns were doing and what contributions they were making to the mission. So what are some of the outcomes and lessons learned? Well, first of all, by being equipped with GitLab Ultimate and Instance on the low side, those interns got off to a really fast start. Remember I mentioned the whole project was 90 days start to finish? Well, these interns began working quickly together. By using GitLab to-do list and GitLab issues, they were able to collaborate easily, and Dan, the branch chief, was able to get visibility into what he needed to see his interns doing. So at the end of the day, Dan was able to feed back to his interns that they were making a real impact on his high side mission. Now, what that in turn translated to was all of those interns felt like they were making an impact. Like it wasn't just a summer intern program that they were used to, where a lot of it might be just busy work. They were actually making a real mission impact. And that led to a really happy group. It was high morale within the team, and several of them indicated interest in continuing to do work for the agency. So what are some lessons learned? Well, the technology doesn't by itself change culture to be agile and collaborative, but it is an enabler. So GitLab Ultimate and our capability for seamless low to high development really enabled this summer intern program to be as successful as it was. It also gave the ability for those interns to start quickly. And it gave leadership the ability to actually assign an account, a user account for their program manager who's working on the high side. They gave those program managers accounts on the low side instance so that they could interact in those issues and those to-do lists, et cetera, on the low side as well. And that really created this nice liaison between the low and the high side. The other thing is, by using GitLab, it helped influence a cultural change in minimal viable change. So the interns became used to getting an idea quickly out there amongst their peers to collaborate on, test their hypothesis, get feedback on it, and then change if change was needed quickly. And by getting everybody involved, it got everyone onto the same page or the same version of the truth. So GitLab is an end-to-end complete DevSecOps solution. And because they didn't have to leave the GitLab interface to go to other siloed products, they were all on the same page all day long. And that really accelerated their success. So the summer ended, the program was a huge success. And most importantly to the government leadership, they were able to ask these interns if they would be interested in doing this again next summer, and then when they finish their college careers, to consider a career in government service. So if you're a government leader, if you're a system integrator, a thought leader, I would challenge you to take a look at how you can, especially in the midst of this pandemic, how can you take GitLab's seamless high to low capability and employ that in your program? Because again, the technology doesn't change the culture, but the right technology can enable that cultural shift. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the time, and I look forward to joining you in the live chat.